On the 2nd of August 2024, the Fallen Mode update was released. With that, there was a secret wave that was added, the Hidden Wave. It was previously added in 2020, but removed in 2021 in the Solar Eclipse update. However, when it was re-added, there were no clear clues on how to get it. However, if you knew where to look, you knew how to activate it. But what resulted became the biggest meme in Tower Defense Simulator history. So I was on a Northern Line train, having come back from Cardiff recently, and there was one thing here that caught my eye. In fact, it's not one thing, it's just, there was a guy wearing a 32 coat. At the time I was thinking, do I make a video on 32 Origins? Is that going to be too difficult? Hang on a minute, that guy's wearing 32. It blends in so well. The Northern Line, look at the grab bars and everything. It blends in so well. This is the universe hinting at me, yes, you need to make a story about the origins of 32. The Hidden Wave was first said to be possible to get by Tyler on 3rd of August at about midnight UTC. This was when people started really hammering Hidden Wave theories. There were previously some theories before that were all just speculation because it wasn't even confirmed nor denied by developers. And the developers do mention the clues may or may not be related to the old Hidden Wave. To clarify, this was the developers giving us a bigger clue than what they needed, because you may not realize this, the developers actually gave us a load of hints of the Hidden Wave and how to activate it in the lobby and the various intermission lobbies. The first one, which was discovered by Tom the Ninja here, is the heartbreak symbol. This is if you go into one of the top areas of the lobby back then, there was a heartbreak symbol here, which symbolized the 1 HP that you needed for the Hidden Wave. Now, this was a reference to one of the unused badges back in the day called Verge of Death. It was similar to this, where, I mean, it doesn't really have a heartbreak, but it has 1 HP with a big heart and it's cracked. This is Survive Fallen Mode with 1 HP left. It's the Verge of Death badge. This was never added, but you can see that the heartbreak symbol in the lobby was a reference to that. Now, there was some confusion with this because there was an engineer skin, I believe, there's a heartbreak engineer. Yes, there is a heartbreak engineer, which has a similar symbol to this. So people were thinking that you might need to use the heartbreak engineer for it. You didn't. It was just a coincidence and kind of a red herring. Now, there are other clues to the Hidden Wave activation if you looked really, really hard. Now, on the statue, on below natural statue in the lobby, at the time, there was a speech bubble, as you can see here, with a timer. This was a reference to saying the timer back in the old Hidden Wave, which was 120. But as you can see, it's in a speech bubble, which means you had to say it. You had to say the 120. That was the final requirement of the current Hidden Wave, where you have to say 1009, 1, and 120. This is the 120 part. So yes, you can see this symbol here. It's a speech bubble with the wave. This is a reference to the original Hidden Wave. The original Hidden Wave had the 120 here and the 1 here. The timer, the stopwatch, sorry, is a reference to the 120 part here. It doesn't seem too obvious, but it is what it is. Whatever, you could reasonably get 120 out of this. Wave 1. You have to say the wave that the original Hidden Wave was. That's wave 1. That was to be combined with the clue that they gave us on Discord, which was the clues may or not be related to the old Hidden Wave. Some people did figure this out. Some people did figure out the clue. But what people weren't smart enough was for the last clue that I'm about to mention. The one where it caused the biggest meme in Tower Defense Simulator history. Because the final clue, I didn't realize this, because people were saying that the final clue was about the binary coming from the computer. No, it's actually, if you looked really closely, there is a speech bubble here with some squares and diamonds in it. Now, what people did was that they figured out the squares bit. I believe a popular TDS YouTuber figured out the squares and the speech bubble bit, but most people were hyperfixated on the amount here. So the squares and the diamonds, they can see that there were 32 of them. Now you can see where the 32 comes from here, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 by 4, that's 32. Most people didn't realize the significance of the positions of the squares and the diamonds. Now, if you were to replace the squares with zeros and the diamonds with 1, it would translate into 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. That is the capital letter Unicode translated for T. So that's 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. That's for I. This is for M. This is E. This is time in capital letters, and a speech bubble for time. This is a reference to the 1009 seconds that it was for the original hidden wave requirement. Well, not the original. That was 999 seconds. This was for the 109 seconds that was more commonly associated with the hidden wave. So you can see, you need to combine this clue with the two other clues about speech to see that, oh wait, in combination with the old hidden wave clues, you need to just say what the objects were associated with. So here, it's the time for the original hidden wave. For the wave clue, it's the original wave. That's 1. For the stopwatch, that's the original timer that it was for that 120, 1009, 1. 120. But most people, they just saw this and looked at it and said, that's 32. What many people don't realize is that this myth extenuated so far that this original image here, this original clue was so far lost, it's so far lost in time that only a handful of people actually know what this is. And people did notice this quite early on after Tyler posted the announcement that the hidden wave was back, because you can see people about 2 hours after the hidden wave leak, you can see people figuring out, oh wait, there's a weird pattern on the override screen in the hardcore matchmaking lobby. That was a clue. Yes, it is a clue. It wasn't there since the dawn of time. It was a clue. However, people misinterpreted this clue so badly wrong. We got the 32 thing. Yes. Now we know this because we can see from Discord that people were figuring out 32 squares and diamonds in the hardcore override computer, and then people were making assumptions of what the 32 meant. People were misinterpreting this clue. 32, here it's the 32. A lot of people saying 32. So here, for example, people were saying, oh, we needed to beat 30, we needed to do 32 accelerators. Some people were misinterpreting what people were saying about 32 because they were thinking, oh wait, it might still be something about 32 waves. You might need to lose on the 32nd wave, because people just didn't understand the clue. That people didn't know to translate it into binary, which spelled out time. I mean, if I'd looked at that, I'd probably think, oh wait, it's probably binary because there's only 2 symbols there. 2 symbols with the developers, how the developers think, that's probably going to be a binary. However, people were just thinking it's just the amount of diamonds and squares on it, because people were thinking, oh, base 32 or something, it's just 2 to the power of 5. However, that's just a coincidence because there were 4 characters there, and it just so happens that it was 8 times 4, which is 32. Yeah, people were asking from the hints, there's squares and numbers that rhombuses that equal 32 total, and that's how they got the number 32. People didn't look too deeply into it. In fact, I don't think that many people actually tried to translate people were trying to translate it in this YouTuber's live stream. It means time. The code was that and that and that. So people were figuring out that the binary meant time. However, it's not that. It's time all in capitals, not time underscore. There is a difference where if you type time into a translator, a Unicode translator, then it's not the same code. You have to actually spell out the capital letters time, otherwise it wouldn't make sense as a clue. And this clue is only in the hardcore lobby. You can't see it in the survival lobby here, only in hardcore. So it was added in the hidden wave update as a clue to help you beat the hidden wave as one of the clues. People were so confused why people were saying chat bubble and waves, 2 new clues, because we couldn't comprehend them together. The speech bubbles, obviously, now we know you're meant to say the number, meant to say the damn number. The people at the time just didn't know, and we were just being, well, I wouldn't say the community was just being gaslit all over the place about what the clues are. And then people actually did translate the code. So this person here, for example, they mistranslated it. They used squares as 1s and diamonds as 0s. If you swapped it the other way around, you'd probably get a binary. But this person just didn't. Very, very few people actually got the binary code. And it wasn't until Nextra told everyone that people actually understood. But by then, it was far, far too late. People had already gaslit themselves that 32 was an important thing. As you can see here, it wasn't clarified until about 14 hours after it was first discovered, the squares and the diamonds. 32 is the number, there's the number of bits in the word time. All words with 4 letters have 32. People just didn't know how to translate those squares and diamonds into time. I'd say not everyone, some people did. As prefaced here, some people actually did translate the binary tag into time. However, the only problem is, I think this person just didn't actually try and do it properly because, like I said, it's capital T-I-M-E. That doesn't translate fully into what was the code on the screen. So that probably caused even more confusion because people weren't getting the same results. And it wasn't until Nextra cleared everything up, but by then it was too late. people had already gone down the rabbit hole that 32 was an important figure. And the thing about rumors is it just initiates. It's just one trigger point and everything just initiates. People, by this point, by 2 hours after the initial badge leak that it was said to be gotten, it's public. People already gaslit themselves that 32 was an important thing, and people were trying all sorts of methods for using the number 32. At the time, many people were guilty of this. For example, this person was saying in Area 51, there's a 32 outside the map, so this is the answer. People were looking at the answer, looking at the number of shapes, and they were trying to fit 32 somehow. I know this person was obviously a troll. Mentin discovered that this person was a troll. That was mad gaslighting everything. A lot of people were responsible for gaslighting the entire community that 32 was important. And by this point, no one knew where 32 had come from, apart from like a handful of people, because no one discovered the original clue. The only problem is 32 was never meant to be the original clue in the first place, and therefore 32 just became a reoccurring thing up until I beat it. I didn't buy into the 32 thing, so therefore I beat it. I mean, makes sense, right? Don't believe a rumor because it's not right. You beat it. Everyone just gaslighting themselves that this 32 thing was important. But then again, there were a load of theories about how to beat the hidden wave that I wouldn't be too surprised that there were things like this in the first place. It's just that 32 just happened to be part of a clue, which was actually a clue, but it was misinterpreted as 32, whereas it should have been interpreted as time in a speech bubble, so you have to say 1009. But no one was smart enough to think that, apart from like a handful of people. In this live stream, there were a lot of things that people were coming up with what to say. It's just that no one actually figured out the actual thing until the very last minute, and I just so happened to be the first person to do it. I'm not sure about beating the Fallen King quickly. Apparently you have to beat it in 60 seconds, not 45 as I originally thought. But I think that was just part of the whole Hidden Wave general thing anyway, because the original Hidden Wave was to beat Fallen Mode entirely quickly. This one, it probably would have made sense to just speedrun it, and killing the Fallen King quickly was just part of the process, and you didn't need a clue to figure that one out. However, this clue, this 32, was so far entrenched into the Hidden Wave that people, up until I beat it, thought that 32 was still important somehow. I beat it on the 3rd of August at 23 UTC. No one actually figured it out until this time. Well, people had figured it out before. I think about 4, 5, 6 hours before this, people had actually activated it, but they couldn't activated the speech part of it, but they hadn't figured out the death part of it, or actually managed to beat the Hidden Wave, or weren't fast enough to beat the Hidden Wave. But by this point, people had started to figure out, even though they probably hadn't figured out the clues. I personally hadn't figured out the clues, but I'm assuming the people I did it with had figured out some of the clues. I was just logical enough to discard 32 as a clue because it was just so far irrelevant, and the community had just gaslit themselves that 32 was actually part of the Hidden Wave. But from this whole debacle, the community was so pissed that 32 wasn't a clue that what they figured out was just wrong. So people would just start complaining about 32, and it was like a mantra: 32, 32, 32. So much to the point where the developers actually caught onto it. This is the first kind-of-ish meme that the developers caught onto it. 32 isn't the first time that 32 is being mentioned by the developers. So, for example, Outpost 32, it's a map in the game from the Frost Invasion update. Now, I'm just suggesting, we know that Operation Ice is coming, and it looks like it's something to do with the Frost Spirits. Is the other developers only referencing this because it has 32 in the title? I bet you somehow 32 is going to be part of the lore now, and it just so happens that there was a map in the game called Outpost 32. Outpost 32 is nothing to do with 32 at all. Some people are suggesting that 32 in Outpost 32 has something to do with the 32 myth. It doesn't. It has entirely got to do with the community gaslighting themselves. It's just so fascinating that people just don't know the origins of 32. It's so far deep down entrenched that very, very, very few people know what the origins of 32 actually is. And in fact, the first time the developers had actually mentioned 32 by name is the V1.32.0 update, the gasoline gun update. Yes. So in the update log, they said 32, this is V1.32.0, therefore 32, you know what to do. I don't think the developers fully understand how the community gaslit themselves over 32. I know Next Year probably does, but he may have forgotten. And I don't know if Below Natural ever does as well. This is the origin story of 32. 32 is just the community just gaslighting themselves. It's just so far beyond comprehension. And obviously, this is not the first time 32 has been mentioned. If you go into the Hexate update, you'll know there are some new tags in there and some new stickers. Some of these stickers reference the 32. For example, the 32 name tag you get at level 23, Remontada thing. And then you actually get the 32 sticker, which was actually made for level 32. The developers have clearly bought into the joke of the 32 so far to the point where I don't think many of them actually know the origins of the 32 name tag. But yes, that is the story of 32. That's how the developers were trying to hint at clues for the hidden wave, but very few people knew about it. Very few people got the cues for the hidden wave. Some people were smart enough to beat it, the hidden wave, that way, or just coat ride on people who did figure it out. So actually, the streamer, Soup Gun, she mentioned it previously. I think Jordan Stratz or something. Props to him for actually figuring it out. People drawing out the beach bubbles and everything. He was actually smart enough to do that. Unfortunately, wasn't smart enough to figure out that it meant time from the binary. It's not that far a logical step to translating that into binary. Some people did, but mistranslated it. But then again, isn't that what 32 is all about? It's just the friends that we made along the way, guys. Come on.